Good morning, everybody. Ranger John Heron here on a very hot and humid morning here at Huntsville State Park. Now, earlier I had presented a program on the history of the Dutch oven, and I promised during that I was going to show you some of my favorite recipes with that. So I've got a wonderful one for you this morning. But before I show you that, I want to show you a little bit about what you might need when cooking with a Dutch oven. First off, you need, of course, your Dutch oven, and you need some charcoal to go with it. Now, I found that the easiest way to get your charcoal lit too, rather than just pouring it in the pile, pouring a bunch of lighter fluid or chemical on it to try and get it going, it's very easy to have a little chimney starter. And what this does is it fills up this top section here with charcoal. You then put some newspaper in the bottom and use a lighter to light the bottom where the newspaper is. That's going to ignite, and of course we know heat rises. It's going to pull oxygen in through these slots on the bottom, and it's going to pull the fire up into the charcoal. That way you don't need any chemicals or lighter fluid or anything like that to get your charcoal going. Now we have my Dutch oven here. Now we're going to have coals on the bottom. We're also going to have coals on the lid. It's all going to get very hot. So for safety, I'll make sure I have a pair of good gloves right there. I'll use a lid lifter. If I need to lift the lid at all, I don't have to touch it with my hands. I can pick that right up. Now, sometimes I need to set the lid aside. So I have a little holder that I'll set down and be able to put the lid on top of that. Once everything is done and all the food's been eaten, have a little scraper tool, clean it out, some paper towels, and some oil. I'm not going to use any soap or anything like that. I'm just going to heat some water up in there, scrape it out, make sure it's completely dry, and give a thin sheen of oil on there so it's ready to go for next time. So as I said, with this chimney starter, we've got charcoal in this top part right here. Got some crumpled up newspaper in the bottom. I use my lighter. Ooh. Trusty lighter, right? There we go. Sometimes it's like 15-20 minutes. You're going to start seeing the top coals there get all white, and you're going to be set to go. We're going to let that cook now. There are many great and wonderful recipes you can cook in a Dutch oven, but for you first timers, it can be very intimidating to figure out which recipe is going to work best and going to be easiest to do. So I'm going to provide a couple of very easy recipes for these first few ones. The first one I'm doing, I think you can guess what it's going to be. All it takes is 3 ingredients. All right, I'm going to use 2 pounds of sausage. For this, it's a breakfast. I like using the maple sausage. So I got sausage, got some biscuits, and 2 packs of gravy mix. So sausage, biscuits, gravy. I think you know where we're headed with this one. All right, so our chimney starter is going right there. You can see the flame just whipping up from the bottom. So we're going to wait for those coals on top to start turning white, and we'll be ready. Okay, so we got the charcoal lit. We've got it underneath. We're going to let those heat up right now, and then we'll add the sausage in there so we can get it browned up. Now, I will say I forgot a very crucial tool. And you want a set of metal tongs, because you're going to want to be handling these coals and moving them onto the lid and around. So unfortunately I don't have that. I do have my gloves. I've got some sticks around here, so we're going to improvise. Okay, so once I got that meat browned, I'm going to want to follow the instructions on the gravy. Right now I need to get 3 cups of water boiling, so I'm going to do that in with the sausage there, get that water boiling. Well, then I mix the gravy mix up with some more water in the measuring cup on the side. Okay, so I got my gravy mix in that one. It's thickening up. So what I'm going to do now is add my biscuits. Now this is something I couldn't find anywhere else, so I tried this myself. It worked pretty well. I was worried about my biscuits being too soggy, but I'm just going to put a layer of biscuits right on the top there, and we'll put the lid back on and make sure I got plenty of charcoal on top. Now, when you cook in a Dutch oven and you want to set it to a certain temperature, there are a lot of great charts out there. I found a pretty helpful one that's actually a magnet, so it could stick to my fridge. Some people have the idea that each briquette is a certain temperature. So, if you want 325, you add a certain number of briquettes and you get that. One of the general rule of thumb is a 2-to-1 because heat rises. However many pieces of charcoal you have on the bottom, you want double that on top. All right, and so we're going to put a layer of biscuits in there. Only let it cook for the time on here and see how it comes out. As it's cooking, you're going to want to just prevent any hot spots. Every couple of minutes, rotate the lid. You're also going to want to rotate the Dutch oven. And this will prevent any hot spots from developing in there. So just every few minutes, rotate the lid and the bottom. Now, one thing you can do, as well as shifting it around to make sure the coals are good, is you can shift the coals around too on the top to help out. I'm going to open this one up. As you see, they're getting cooked right there in the middle, but on that outer edge, you can still use some browning. So I want to get rid of the coals right there. I want to shift some to this outer edge so we get more cooking there. The center, we're pretty well cooked. Okay, so let's see how it came out. Oh, look at that. Golden brown biscuits. Lift. Gravy's not as thick as I'd like. Could let that thicken up just a little bit more. But, yeah. Let's see how those biscuits came out. That's always a good question, especially if they seep in that gravy. I'll set it down on the ground here so I can open it up. Oh yeah. Nice and cooked biscuit. Could use a little thicker on the gravy before putting the biscuits on. But other than that, again, 3 simple ingredients. Sausage, biscuits, gravy mix, cooked in one pot in the Dutch oven there. Got a real easy, healthy, hearty meal for all your friends and family.